ever hired someone who blew you away in the interview, now the first few weeks on the job, and then suddenly turned into the complete opposite? You're not alone. This is one of the most common calls I get from CEOs. She looked perfect on paper, crushed the first 60 days, then everything unraveled. Let me show you why this happens and what to do before it drains your time, your patience, and your business momentum. So as you can see from this visual here, I use this analogy a lot of a team working together, winning, going in the same direction towards the business goals. And in this visual illustration here, you can see that they're going in complete opposite directions. The boat has split, it's rocking, there's turbulence, they're going to fall out and get themselves wet and get into a sticky situation. And that's probably where you feel right now in your business, where you feel you've been pulled in different directions because there's underperformance within the team with one individual or multiple. And then it's affecting those star team members who are doing great, but they're getting pulled back and bogged down with taking control of staff members who are not doing what they should be doing. So let's talk about what it is, how we can fix that. So that shift that happens. So with one of the recent clients I've worked with, I've noticed a team member who was really excellent and excelled in the interview, knocked it out the park, was the best candidate for the job, ticked all the boxes, references were great, came onto the job, first few months, excellent, attention to detail, 10 out of 10, everything was perfect, on top of everything, thinking outside of the box. And then it's almost like it's a completely different person's come into the office and they're doing the complete opposite of what they were doing in the first few months. And we're trying to mind boggled of what's happened here, because now we've noticed a loss in confidence. They're constantly asking questions that they know the answers to. We see anxiety creeping in. They're pulling the manager away from their focus and other team members away from their focus. So it does have a domino effect if you don't fix that one issue with that team member. It's like when you buy a bunch of fruit, sometimes you get one in the pack that's really bad. And if you don't pick it out as soon as you purchased it when you get home, it will then affect the rest of the bunch. So you really need to look at that. So let's get into the shift here. So you may be, as a CEO, feeling frustrated, pulled in different directions. You're losing trust with these team members. You want to focus on the certain things you've got planned for that week, that month, that quarter, and you feel like you just can't get things done. You're pulling out your hair. You're getting pulled in different directions, and it's costing the business essentially. It's like driving a car that ran perfectly during the test drive, and then 3 months in, you can't even get it out of the driveway without stalling. That is a real frustration, and that's not what we want to happen. So looking at that root cause, it could be one of the three things, and this is what I've identified with this individual, because underperformance usually isn't laziness. It's either role misalignment, lack of confidence in systems, or personal distractions creeping in. So wrong task assigned could be a case where, for example, I remember a scenario where I had someone who was an admin support. They're very good at the job, but there was one task assigned to them that they just couldn't get right, and it was booking travel. And they were booking travel for the CEO perfectly fine, but it came to when they had to book travel for other individuals. So if there was a team or client meeting that was out of office, it was in a different state, different location, she would book the travel for everybody. And everyone's coming from different towns, different cities, different time zones, different dates, different flights, different airlines. So it wasn't a case where everyone was on the same flight at the same hotel, same date, same times. And it got really overwhelming for her because the times would get changed by that individual. They'll change their mind. She'll have to cancel it, reschedule, book the airport transfers. So if you're booking for a handful of people, it was just too much for her. And she got really stressed by this. But when we noticed that, we took that task away from her, and she was just back to being more confident, happy in her role, excelling again. So if you see signs like that, it's just having that discussion to see, okay, it's this specific task is not right for you. Let's put it out. It's not that they're being lazy necessarily, it's that it's just too overwhelming. So in that scenario, the fix was not necessarily to hire somebody else or give that task to someone else. What we did with that was just then pass the buck back to the individual whose travel it was for, and they were then responsible for booking their own travel. And we just added in protocols of, okay, this is the scenario for, this is the rules, like the 10 rules for long haul flights, short haul flights. This is the budget assigned, so that each individual had their own, were able to put their travel on their behalf, and that worked. So that's an example of wrong tasks assigned. Lack of confidence in systems. That could be that they're just overwhelmed with the tech. Maybe previously they've never had all these different systems and softwares to log in, and it just feels overwhelming to them. So it's just rebuilding that confidence through repetitive training again to get them back on track. And it could be personal life bleeding into work. It could be family concern. It could be health issues creeping into work. So you need to really get to that root cause to fix the problem. Because if you don't fix that problem, it then, what I call, is you're burying your head in the sand, assuming performance will bounce back on its own. I've had people who said, I've had this issue for months. She's been like this for a year. I don't know what else to do. So bubble wrapping staff is like overprotecting them. So do you feel like you are overprotecting them so much that they never actually stand on their own 2 feet? Shielding them too much from responsibility, avoiding tough conversations, does that happen? Overcompensating for their mistakes and hoping they'll bounce back without real accountability. This is what you want to avoid, because if you're doing this right now, it's not giving them the autonomy to be responsible for their role, and essentially you're paying them a lot of money for representing your business. And if you're not getting that return of investment from them, what's the purpose of having them there if you're then doing some of the work, passing the buck to somebody else? It's just not fair. So just like bubble wrap, you're cushioning them from the reality. Instead of helping them grow, you're making them more fragile. And in the end, the leader is still carrying the weight. You don't want to carry that weight. I said at the beginning, you've been pulled in different directions. That's the repercussion of it. So please avoid not doing anything about it. What we now need to do is we've now need to go into the next step, which is to review. So what we want to do is check the role fit. Is this truly the right seat on the bus? Sometimes it's not about training, but role alignment. So I spoke about that before, that person doing the travel. Maybe it's that task needs to be taken away from them. Or it's a case where we had someone who was in office. They were okay, but they were mediocre. They weren't excelling. They weren't doing their best work. We could see they weren't counterproductive in the office. It wasn't great. But as soon as we put them out of office to be interacting in person with clients and customers and prospects, they completely excelled. So maybe it's a case of they just need to be moved into a different department. Did you create a job description for that person? This is really key. And I talk about this in the Ultimate Delegation System course, where you get access to this template. And basically, this is like a template you get, and I walk you through how to create your own version of this. But I do give you templates as well. This is really important that you have something like this at the beginning, during the interviewing process, when they're onboarded, and then through team performance reviews, because it just clarifies the expectations of what should be happening. And if you don't have that job description in place, it can be really difficult to then flag with them, well, why is this not happening, if they're not aware what they should be doing, what their average week looks like. And then this goes on to the next bit about being fully trained on all aspects. Do they need to be retrained? So as you look through this, have they been trained on all these different areas? Are there SOPs, standard operation procedures, that outline what that actually looks like? Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. If you don't have any SOPs and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds too overwhelming, you don't need to create it yourself. You can delegate this to your team members, and I show you how to do this in a freebie. So if you go to selenajohnson.com and then click on free SOP builder here, you can download this really quick way of doing it using AI to create your SOPs in my 3-step process. So I've made that really easy for you. And then the next bit is feedback from the team. Just going back one step, is also with the SOP schedule. We created this in the Ultimate Delegation System as well. So you get access to this, anyone who's got the course. And this is an example of where you can see at the bottom, we've got tabs for different departments. within the business. So we've got agency side, the course, the social media, PR, and consultancy. There's like SOPs related to that department. So you can see in here an example of how we've created the SOPs here. So the documents are here linked. So this actually links to Asana, the task. And then we've got the actual SOP document as well in Word as well. So you can actually see examples of what the SOP looks like. But if you just want the template, you can go to selenajohnson.com to get that. But also in the course, we go through how to create the job description and also how to create your SOP library without you having to do it all, and to get your team members involved to make it much easier for you. Next step is then feedback from the team above and below. So what I mean by this is if you've seen the concern or you've had a few complaints here and there, then go and speak to other individuals below and above this person. So people they report into, maybe junior people, just to get a pulse on what's happening and what people are saying. And then this is the most important bit, and this is where the bubble wrap comes into place, is hiding and not having that honest conversation. So this is really important to have the honest but calm conversation, clarity over comfort, to say to them and be transparent about the concerns and see if you can get to how you can move forward with this. And then the final thing is then to revisit the job description. Are there any changes, anything that needs to be added off, and then sign off on it. So what you can do is go a step further with this and take these roles and responsibilities, put it into a table. So you've got one row per task, per responsibility. And then you could add the date to say when they were trained on it in one column. And then a third column would be they sign it to say that they have been fully trained on it and understand it. That way you're just kind of like double checking that they have been trained on everything. They can see that they've been trained on everything. So there shouldn't be any issues going forward. But also if it comes to it and you need to start that kind of disciplinary action, you've got some documentation to help you to start that process off as well. So to wrap up, remember, performance doesn't bounce back magically. It bounces back when you put the correct guardrails in place, is what we talked about today. So if you're nodding along because you've got a bubble wrapped team member, let's talk about getting your structure and accountability in order. Grab the free SOP builder so you can start fixing these gaps today.